Hola, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Delaney Fana, and this is Fana Talks, where I center on the psychological and emotional dimensions of our everyday lives. Today's episode, I'm going to be exposing a bunch of truths that we all know about, and spreading more awareness using my platform as being an artist, now being a podcaster. I'm going to talk about imperial violence today, and we're going to dive deeper on what's happening in Sudan, in Congo, in Palestine, in Haiti, and all of the genocides that's happening in the world right now and where it's stemming from, the root of it. I know in my previous episodes, I spoke a lot about the spiritual lyrical and like how I reverted to Islam, which is, where I am right now, and I'm spreading a lot more truth within that. So there's no coincidence in the chronological order in which I shared with everyone. But I'm kind of done talking about that. I want to serve for something that's bigger than me. And what other way to do it than using my artistry and my voice to spread more awareness and to come together as a community and talk about more truths. So, as I read off of my book, because there are a lot of facts that I've researched from journalists and scholarly articles, I don't want anything to get lost in translation. So let's get started. All while painting as well. So, as Americans and just as a society in the world are aware of, Gaza has been in war for quite some time, and now Sudan as well. Not just now, but it has been going on for quite some time. And there is a lot more uproar in that. And I am here to talk about kind of like the history of it, what's really just been going on and what's been bothering me about it, and not staying silent, right? So, to begin, in Sudan, people are trapped between two armed forces, the Sudanese army and the RSF, which is the Rapid Support Forces. And in late 2025, nearly 65,000 people were forced to flee their homes in just one region alone. This is in Sudan, this is in Gaza, and there's also women and children being sexually assaulted. They're experiencing a lot of harassment and assault, which really bothers me because anything with women, anything with children, I kind of just tap out with. And all of this is stemming because their country is naturally rich in oil, right? They're rich in oil, they're rich in gold and in land, and instability becomes profitable, unfortunately. So basically this means that this war means business. And as we know, as some of us Americans know, the United States of America is a corporation. Literally any and everything that we do is all a business. It's all profit for God knows what. So to still speak about what's going on in Sudan and in Palestine and in Gaza, everything is being controlled right now. So not only their food, but their water, their electricity, their medicine, and everything that is sustaining life is regulated by political power. And then to kind of speak a little bit about Congo, just look at what you're holding in your hands right now. Our phones. Congo's blood is literally in our phones right now. And to talk a little bit more about what's that about in Congo, the earth is full of minerals like cobalt, gold, and rare metals. And still, the people in the land are experiencing endless violence and displacement. and to talk a little bit more about what's going on in Haiti, which is all interconnected. They're not separate entities. Everything that's happening in Sudan, everything that's happening in Gaza and Palestine, everything is interconnected. So they're not separate from each other. They're literally experiencing the same pattern. This chaos is shaped by the corruption and the arms trafficking and foreign intervention as well. And so with that in Haiti, I learned that the genocide has been active since 2023. And so to speak a little bit more about who's behind this, of course, is Israel. Israel had imposed 3 blockades, which means 90 days that blocked off food from going in and out of Gaza. So they are in complete control of their food intake. They're complete control of literally everything. And them doing this keeps Gaza below the threshold of famine. So it's way beyond just hunger. It's now starvation. And so Sudan and Gaza are now in famine. And who's funding all of this? The United States of America. Yeah. All of our tax dollars, everything that you see that we're paying for, all of that is funding the genocide. That is helping Israel do war in Gaza, in Sudan, all of it. Everything is funded by the United States of America. So let's not act as though like we don't know these things. Let's try to speak a little bit more about what's going on. It's the system itself, right? And a little bit more on the facts of that. Between 1951 and 2022, $225.2 billion went towards military aid for Israel. And $92.7 billion went towards economic aid. So it's just a different institution, same logic, right? So then there's the police, right? And when I say police, I really mean ICE, because potato, it's literally the same thing. People are fleeing violence created by global systems and are treated as criminals. So imagine trying to get out of war and you're being treated as a criminal because you want to stay alive. It's either they're giving people the option of either fighting or dying. Either one, right? Which is insane. So this then gets trickled down to what we have been seeing in the news and in social media and how people have been speaking about ICE, right? So as some of us have been seeing, I remember seeing a video of ICE being in Jamaica, Queens, right? And pictures of little kids getting taken by ICE and getting deported, right? So this is currently in the United States of America, and it's not even people who are immigrants, right? And even if you are, you're innocent and you're still getting deported. Children are getting deported and they're being placed in detention centers. And yeah, so I wrote here as well, because there's a lot of information that I do want to get out and not leave anything out. Me personally, as an early childhood educator, it breaks my heart to see children getting detained and ripped away from their families. I remember, I'm not too sure what the year was, but maybe it was 2024 or something, or 2023. I was teaching in a classroom, several classrooms, and it was a new school year. And I remember being placed in a classroom with just Spanish-speaking students. And this was very rare. Like, I would have students, here and there, like speaking Spanish, but the whole class Spanish. And I noticed it, and then I asked the main teacher, like, what's going on? Like, I just had an inkling feeling to ask. And so I was told a lot of the students were from Venezuela, and a lot of the students were living in shelters. Let's connect the dots, right? So all of that from then to now seeing students and just young children getting ripped away from their families is disheartening. Like, it doesn't sit well with me at all. And so there have been investigations that have shown human rights abused. They've been living in inhumane conditions, not being fed correctly, malnourished, and all in immigration detention from January to October 2025. ICE had detained nearly 3,500 minors. That's not a small number. That's not something to play with at all. And yeah, this is bad. Like, this is not something to take lightly at all. I have a few people within my community that are spreading more awareness on this. So if you are an educator, if you are a teacher or a principal, I am providing the artists that I know their link, and so you can express your voice, and so you can express your experience on how your students may be acting differently or the same, or just your personal experience as well is really needed. And so, as I said before, all of this is interconnected, right? So everything is all one, right? We're noticing the pattern. We're noticing, like, yeah, it's not just on a global scale. It's also domestically, right? But ICE, this translate now to the DOE and the Department of Labor, right? So this is what I've learned and what I've jotted down. So the Department of Labor is now taking control of K-12 programs. The Department of Labor, it's supposed to be the Department of Education, right? So as you guys know, President Trump had, I'm not too sure when, but he had dismantled the Department of Education, right? And so people thought that it was like a fraud, and it was just something that he was like, just doing just to be a flux or whatever. But no, it's like actually transitioning to the Department of Labor, which makes no sense. And the reason for them to do this is to align education with workforce development and job training. So when education is moved under labor logic, it basically means a couple of things, right? So that means there's less focus on critical thinking. There's less focus on the arts. There's less focus on liberation for these students. These students that are just now experiencing life, and they're thinking school is supposed to be their, like, safe space. Like, now it's not even a space for them to think freely anymore. It's not a space for freedom. It's not a space for their voices anymore. And we need artists. Like, I'm an artist, and I remember in school having art being one of my favorite subjects. So now in this generation, they won't even have the opportunity to do that, because even art is being dismantled in the Department of Education as well. No coincidence. This also allows them to have more focus on training workers for the economy, and the power shifted towards the market's needs. So it's no longer for the people's needs. Never really was, but now it's just being thrown in our face, and they don't care about it. Yeah, so like, all in summary, the Department of Education basically molds the minds and the future of these children, and the Department of Labor controls access to force, and then ICE polices who's allowed to exist within the system. So like I said before, they're not separate entities. And I mentioned everything that I mentioned from before because it's all being trickled down and it's all the root of violence and corruption. And it just basically teaches students now their place in society, quote unquote place in society. They're just like another number. They're just another worker. And to speak a little bit more about the United States economy, they're depending heavily on immigrant labor, which has always been a thing. When you think about caregiving, when you think about construction, when you think about social services, that's all immigrant labor, domestic work, right? And then this is where ICE comes in. So they're detaining and deporting workers, which creates fear in immigrant communities. So you're allowed to work as an immigrant because immigrants are literally the people who create the economy and fuel what's going on in the United States of America. We fuel and we keep the ball rolling because we work, right? And so they take advantage of that. So we're able and we're allowed to work, but we're not able to speak our rights or stand up for what's right or what's wrong. I don't see where that translation is correct. I don't know how that, but this is literally what's going on in the world. So, as I said before, the imperial systems don't have to only operate abroad. It's happening domestically too. It's happening within our schools. It's extracting systems, extracting values and bodies. Same message. It's the same thing. So I wasn't even really focused on painting. That's crazy. I am using this platform that I have. And while I may not be an expert on all political views, I may not be an expert on all political things. I don't have to be an expert to care. Because there was just this burning sensation in me just seeing what's going on and it's happening in front of our face. And to not speak about it, to be in silence, that's also a message. So I'm using my platform once again just to have a call to action to all of my peers, to my community, to people who are watching this that don't know me. If you are an artist, please continue to use your voice. Please paint some shit, create a song, create a jacket. I don't know what it is that's your medium, but use your God-given gifts to share to the world what's really going on so that history doesn't have to be written for us, so that we can continue to express our truths on what's really going on. It's the age of Aquarius, guys. Like, there's a lot of truth that's going to be, spread. There's a lot of community work that we're going to be doing, and old systems that are being dissolved right now. So us as a community, we definitely need to be leaning on each other right now to create our new beliefs. And through art is one of them. Tell the truth about what's going on. I don't know how that's going to look for you. It's a huge responsibility. However, like I said, silence is also a message too. So if you're not an artist or a creator, however way that looks, there's also other ways for you to support. I have a bunch of links and resources that I will be providing in like the comments or like even in the description. On my Instagram as well, I'll be sharing about all the things that I've been learning so that you can, inform yourself on what's been going on and like the real history about what's going on. And then also links on how you can support and donate to mutual aid. And so mutual aid is the people supporting the people within the community. Like, we don't need the government's permission to support each other as a community. So that's what mutual aid is. And so I had several links that I have been donating to when I can, just to support what's been going on in Sudan and in Congo and Gaza. Create some art. Like I said, just create some art, just use your voice, just continue to check up on your people. You know, it's not a crime for you to talk about these things. Just bring more awareness to what's really been going on. Yeah. I read basically everything that I had here because I didn't want my facts to be misconstrued, or I didn't want anyone to be misinformed. If anyone has any more information on what's been going on, please do share with me so that I can become more enlightened. But yeah, my last message is that you do not need permission to speak your truth whatsoever. So I call everyone who feels moved and motivated by this video to speak a little bit more about what's been going on, and just even your experience about it, because I would love to connect more with you. So yeah, that's the end of this episode in Fauna Talks. I'm gonna reveal a painting that I have created. I just was kind of cleaning up like the little details and everything, and we'll be sharing a little bit more about the painting itself up close. So this is the painting. It's about what's really behind doors and what's really just been going on in the United States of America, which has been a thing for quite some time. But yeah, this is just the start of it. It's really just the start of something that can be life-changing for all of us here. So thank you so much for tapping into another episode of Fauna Talks.